Hey there, friends. I think we're pretty much live right now. We'll actually act live here in a second. Try and do something so I don't screw this up too much and then ruin my career and everybody else's life at the same time. So life is good and happy today. Cool. I think we're going to be halfway intelligent about this. If this happens to be your first live YouTube broadcast, any good live YouTube broadcast starts off with the broadcaster, that'd be me, JP Sears in this case, confusingly look around to make sure that everything's going well. We can pretend to put a man on the moon, but we can't yet make YouTube live broadcasts that are easy to use. So that's pretty exciting. Sorry about that. And let's just see. Okay, some people are saying hello. That probably means you can hear me, so let's just pretend that that is indeed the case. Thank you for joining me. I am selfishly here to talk with you because I enjoy connecting with people who enjoy watching me and that value themselves enough to care about their lives. So thank you for appeasing my selfish agenda and joining me here. My purpose here is to chat with you. So I know there's already a bunch of questions coming in, and I'm going to be super excited to give you my delusional thoughts and opinions on those questions. And if you've ever bored yourself to death with any of my serious videos, you know that they can go kind of long. Zephyr, quit itching yourself. It's a very itchy boy today. So now that I have a good attention span right now, what I was saying is some of my serious videos, when I answer questions, you see they can go pretty long. I'll be coming from a very different angle today, talking about your questions, whether they're lighthearted questions or like deep, serious life advice questions. Today, I'm all about super quick, to the point, just a few fleeting thoughts, and then moving on to the next question. Maybe to make this a more entertaining event for you, keep your attention span, and also probably to keep my attention span. So anything and everything I talk about, except for a poop question, I saw one in there. We'll go into elaborate detail on that. But everything and anything I talk about today, I think at best there's going to be a lot more left we could explore, and that's half the fun as well. So let's get down to business. By the way, if you haven't already figured it out, you are more than welcome to leave a comment, which is basically where you can post a question. So if you're not very YouTube savvy, which I'm basically talking to my father and mother if they're watching this, then you can kind of do that. Here's a question that's kind of exciting. And by the way, we're going to get to as many of these as possible, maybe all of them if we're super optimistic, but not very realistic. So anyway, here's a question from Where is the Army Now? What inspired you, if anything, to make your ultra spiritual life videos? I love that question. Yes, so here's my quick thought on that. All the stuff in the ultra spiritual videos, it's all about me, mostly. I've spent a lot of time, mostly in my 20s, I'm probably still doing it now, but I just don't know it, losing myself while believing I'm finding myself. I think a lot of people, talking about me mostly, a lot of people use a spiritual path, and it actually starts to make them unspiritual after a while. I do believe there's a paradox in life that says the path we take to find ourselves will become a path we lose ourselves on if we stay attached to the path and aren't willing to go above and beyond into new, unfamiliar territory. So part of the inspiration is I just needed this therapy and self-discovery to basically say, hey, here's some stuff that I do. Let me make some videos about it so that I can start taking myself less seriously. And part of my inspiration is I lived in Southern California for 10 years, up until middle of 2013, I think it was. Sounds about right. Maybe 2014. So Southern California being one of the meccas around the world for spiritualists. And yeah, there's a lot of interesting things that go on there. And I always found it incredibly interesting, the arrogance that was almost palpable with some people who were quick to tell you how spiritual they were, while they wore a mask of humbleness that didn't disguise their arrogance to anybody but their own self, them own self. That's a way to say it, JP. So you can tell part of me is probably pretty condescending. And then just the last thing I want to say on this about what inspired me to do the ultra spiritual videos is it's a very natural part of my personality to do comedy and have a sense of humor, at least a sense that I think is humorous. And for the first year and a half that I did my YouTube channel, I mostly kept my humor under wraps. Basically just out of repressing myself, thinking that that's not what the audience expects for a channel that's kind of self-growth, self-realizing, self-help oriented. If you know what my channel is about, comment below. That'll inform me. So with that said, let's move along. And let's see, by the way, if you're just clicking in, thank you very much for joining me. This is exciting to have you on the line with me. Just want to say, I love your funny satirical videos. Thank you for that. Let's see, Earth Food. My literate skills right now are very low. I think I've got a lot of excitement running through me, which hijacks my prefrontal cortex, so bear with my illiteracy at the moment. So the question, Earth Food STV. Hey JP, curious to know your top 3 regular herbs you take regularly. Very big fan of regular here, that help you achieve your mission day to day, maybe also favorite essential oil or 2. Yeah, I don't take herbs regularly, no specific ones, just any that I'm lucky enough to eat in cooking. And if this is a savvy way of asking about marijuana, which maybe it is, maybe it isn't, I don't use marijuana. In essential oils, I don't use them. I have in the past, I don't use them now. So pretty unexciting answer to that question. Thank you for asking though. Travis May, Travis, I believe, is from the Elephant Journal. This is exciting. Travis says, if I'm an introverted empath who'd like to be more gluten-free, what should my main mantra be? Did you hear that? That's the introverted gluten-free mantra. Take that to heart. So let's move along. I want to get some of these other earlier questions. Paz asks, do you believe in childhood trauma recovery? How do you fill the hole in that? Yes, I do, in the sense that I don't think we can ever change what happened to us. I think we can change our reaction to what happened to us. My experience of it is trauma is a reaction to a stimulus. So childhood trauma recovery is essentially changing our reaction to the stimulus that was, for most of us, probably decades ago. I believe trauma can be boiled down to one of 2 considerations. We were either overwhelmed or disconnected from. So how do we fill the void? If it's a trauma wound of overwhelm, we need to learn how to take space for ourselves, and how essentially to take 2 parts of our psyche and create space between them. Because oftentimes when we're overwhelmed by call it a perpetrator in our childhood, there's a fusion of ego parts within our psyche. which essentially keeps on replicating the trauma. So we keep living it day in and day out, at least unconsciously. So if we are overwhelmed, we need to learn to create space between our ego parts within our psyche. And if the trauma came by way of not really what happened to us, but what didn't happen, disconnection, abandonment, underwhelm, then we need to learn how to integrate our ego parts together. So my answer to this question isn't at all going to be helpful for actually doing it, but for the sake of speaking my theoretical answer, I hope that helps a little bit. Thank you for the question. Love Trod Serve asks, how do you get rid of obsessive thoughts? Well, don't obsess about getting rid of your obsessive thoughts. Prince Who Knows, how do you keep yourself happy day to day? I don't. Happiness isn't my goal personally. My goal personally is to feel purposeful and curious. I look at happiness personally as one color of the rainbow. And if you just tried to achieve one color of the rainbow, you'd be blocking out the other 6 colors of the rainbow. I think happiness is great. I want it to be in my life, but I don't want to keep myself happy. Taken to an extreme, that looks like us becoming manic and having a disorder. And I believe also call it an addiction to happiness, or making our pursuit happiness. You know, in the US Constitution somewhere, someone once said, we all have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but they never told us that we have the right to pursue more than happiness. So if we're just pursuing happiness, then that means we become unconsciously defended to experiencing anything that won't make us happy, at least anything that we think won't make us happy. And my experience is that growth, strength, development does not happen when we're happy. Oftentimes it comes through struggles that, if we're looking at a potential struggle and opportunity, say, we're looking at it and say, I'm not going to do that because that's not going to make me happy. It actually might make me sad, stressed, angry. It might tear me apart. But if I emerge on the other side, there would likely be a vibrant spectrum of happiness to be experienced, along with the other colors of the emotional rainbow. So if I could real quick take the arrogant liberty, actually, of changing that question to how do I feel supported during the day? A couple of things that I do that help support me and help me feel purposeful is I meditate most days. I keep a list of things I know not only need to do, but want to do to help me strive towards whatever I'm striving towards. And by the way, I check things off when I do them. Hopefully there's nothing too confidential in that. Yeah. So I check things off as I do them, which gives me a sense of accomplishment. It's very codependent of me in this list, but that's my life. And then I also love this thing that's stained, but this quote from my favorite author, James Hollis, one of my favorite authors, what wants to live through me? That helps, looking at that throughout the day really helps me feel supported. Love the question. Got a little long-winded. What are you, Joseph Gregory, thank you for this question. What are your thoughts on the moral reasoning behind veganism? I know you do parody in your ultra spiritual videos. I also wanted to know what you really think about it, and if you yourself are one. That's a great question. I'm not a vegan. I'm not, and actually I saw several questions devoted to veganism, vegetarianism, so do my best to kind of speak to all these at one time. I'm not a vegan, and I am 100% not against veganism, and I'm also not against being against veganism. What I'm really all for, if I could say I have any nutritional dogma, it would be I'm all for someone eating what their body requires. Whatever we eat or whatever we don't eat, I think there will always be rational arguments for why we're doing it wrong and why another way is better. Then we skip to that better way, and now there's arguments why a different way is better. So we've all got to have a dogma. So my dogma is feeding our body what we need. And when we look at our mind has great intelligence, and when we let our mind's intelligence dictate what we're eating, so we look at, okay, I'm going to eat paleo or vegan, so we make up a nutritional choice based on what our intelligence thinks is the right choice. That seems to be a good thing, but I don't think it's a good thing. I think our intelligent mind is not nearly as wise as the wisdom that permeates our body, that runs our body. And I believe it's the wisdom of our body that really dictates our nutrient needs. I don't think our opinions in our mind, even our intelligence and our brilliance in our mind, I don't think that dictates our nutrient needs. I think that dictates what we want our nutrient needs to be. So I know some people who have been on vegan diets and it's worked really well for them. I'm like, yeah, right on. And then I know people who have done the same thing, works really well, and then it stops working well for them. I'm like, oh, sorry that it's not working for you. And some people stay attached because of their dogma, because they're very into believing their beliefs, and other people let it go. I also know certainly paleo style people who are very just same darn thing on the other end of the spectrum, very dogmatic about, hey, we were all cavemen and here's what cavemen ate. We don't realize we're not cavemen anymore. We don't live in a caveman world. So their diets can start working against them. So I do my best to pay attention to what really makes me feel good and vibrant inside. Yeah, killing animals is I don't kill animals, but meat is a part of my diet, and killing plants and eating those poor things, that's a part of my diet too. Thank you for the question, Joseph. Pervy Kitten, would you touch poo for $10? It's a good question. Maybe. Depends on how soft it is. The softer it is, the more I wouldn't be willing to. Freaking Thomas 7, JP, this semester I took work off. How can I use this time to better myself? Probably a heck of a lot of things, but here's what comes to my mind. Find a mentor to in whatever it is you're passionate about, or whatever it is that you're studying or want to be passionate about. I would find a mentor or someone who's got real life experience and try and spend as much time with them as possible. If that's working for free or cheap, or even better, a lot of money, cool, that might be a way to do it. But yeah, that's what's comes to my mind. Sonifer, does having a third testicle make me more spiritual? This is truly an ask me anything question. Sounds like a holy trinity to me. Let's see. If you're just joining, welcome. You're welcome to comment in, if you haven't already, with whatever it is you would like my delusional take on. Get into as many of these as possible. Let's see, Celia asks, I'm studying psychology, but without the holistic approach. Where do you recommend for people to study this holistic knowledge? Thank you, JP. Have a wonderful week. You're welcome. I've done my, I don't do psychology, but I've done my emotional, mental coaching education through a guy I highly recommend. So if I were you, I would check out journeysofwisdom.com. That's the website of an absolute angel inside of a human body named John McMullen. I can't speak to how much I've learned from him and how much I value taking what I've learned from him and letting it blossom and germinate into, you know, what I do every day with clients. And a lot of what I do in videos, so check that out. Let's see, Kelia93, what's your opinions of online dating in terms of looking for long-term relationships? Yeah, that's a good question. I can't say that I've ever online dated, so that's not going to stop me from giving you a delusional opinion, though. I think it's actually a very appropriate modern way of meeting people who you can then actually potentially meet. Meeting someone online, I don't think that's meeting them at all. But yeah, it sounds pretty groovy to me. Meg Sears, this sounds like a weird lady. Have you ever considered using a yellow legal pad to write down your things to do each day instead of tiny yellow post-it notes you've been using? Yellow legal pads are very ultra spiritual. But they are. I do have a semi-yellow legal pad too. Thanks for the question, Mom. Let's see. Cheyenne asks, what's your opinion on marijuana legalization? Sorry if it was already asked. Well, you should be sorry because it wasn't already asked. But I do hope you be as sorry as you need to. Yeah, here's my opinion on that. Personally, I do think it should be legalized, but I'm not passionate about the topic, so I'll just be upfront about that. If it continues not being legalized in a lot of places, I personally really don't care. I'll just be honest with my indifference. But I do think it should be legalized in the sense that it's a very natural growing plant, and it certainly has obvious medicinal uses. And like anything medicinal, it also has detrimental uses. And I think we're in an interesting time where, because the authorities, if you will, they've been controlling marijuana for so long that in our society as a whole, we're doing a lot of pulling to bring it back into balance. But much like when anything's out of balance, so it's all ultra controlled, so that's one way of being out of balance. But as we're working to bring it back into balance, we tend to go to the other extreme and have the mindset that it's something that should be used everywhere, every time, for every condition, by every person. So I do think we're at a time of sort of extreme praise about marijuana, and I don't fault society as a whole for being that way. I think it's a very natural progression of then finding a truer place of balance. I think in 10 years, we'll have a much more sort of realistic relationship with marijuana where there will be less hype around it. Like anything powerful, I think the power can be used for us or against us. Like anything ultra spiritual, I think the danger of it is it's very easy for a person to convince themselves that they're using it for spiritual integration or using it to help themselves, when in fact that can just be a very ultra convenient rationalization to justify how they're using it to disconnect from themselves. So I think there's a lot of self-awareness around using marijuana that will also be developed here in the years to come. Thank you for the question. Let's see what else. Mariana says, I love your videos. Keep doing it. Thank you. I will. Appreciate the compliment. Nittany Ryans asked, do you have any favorite YouTubers? Yeah, I do. That's a fun question. Let's see, who are my favorite YouTubers? Just off the top of my head, I think Elliot Hulse is, he's incredible. He's super passionate and just like I don't know, you can just watch him and have 10 times more adrenaline in your system than you should, but in a good way. Also great friends and admirers of Benji and Judy from It's Judy Time and Benji Man TV. Rob Raws are great friends of mine. And then Daniel Eisenman, who's one of the Rob Raws and has his own channel. He specifically was actually my inspiration for getting started on YouTube. I'm sure I'm missing some people. Melanie Murphy, she's a lovely person. Her genre, it's odd for me to be a fan of hers. Her genre is beauty and makeup. And of course, I'm beautiful. At least that's what my mom told me when I was younger, when everybody would tell me I'm ugly at school. So, and also I think Casey Neistat, he's absolutely brilliant with what he brings to YouTube. It's quite an art that he does. Also Bro Science, they're geniuses over there. The Bondi Hipsters as well. Awesome guys, the Van Buren brothers. Appreciate the question. You got me excited. I'm going to stop doing this and go watch some videos now. Just kidding. Let's see, who else? Let me scroll through these. Fernando, JP, I'm from Tulum, Mexico. I don't have anything to ask, but wanted to tell you that your work, es uno chingoranía, fucking awesome, he says. Thank you. Ryan Camo, hi, what's your main job? Appreciate you asking. I do emotional healing work with people. That's my main job. I have a one-on-one clientele. That practice is run 98% via Skype with people all over the world. So inner coaching, working with people every day in their hearts to heal and grow beyond their wounds and limiting beliefs. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Sean Rubino asks, how did you nail the stereotype, there's my illiteracy, thank you very much, of vegetarians and gluten intolerant people? Those videos outline both sides of my family. Yeah, it's a good question. You know, I don't know that my intention was to actually nail the stereotypes. My intention was, I'm going to sound a little ultra spiritual here for a second. My intention was just to be true to the creative spirit that, you know, was inspiring me to create those videos. So I think they just happen to be on the mark for a lot of people. Looking back, I'd love to pretend like, yeah, I had I'm intelligent enough to premeditate all of that. I'm not. But looking back, I can see that one of the things that tends to appeal to people is when you talk about things that everybody knows, but everybody doesn't talk about. So there's a sense of connection and commonality, as well as relief when things that need to be talked about but aren't being talked about, when they're talked about, that's like exhaling after a long breath hold for our psyche. So I think that's part of the appeal as well. And I think another part of the appeal is any topic where people are on as a whole taking themselves super seriously and don't laugh about themselves. Any religion, whatever your religion is, it might be a religious religion, it might be an eating religion, a gluten-free religion, a vegetarian religion, CrossFit religion, paleo religion. Anything we're religious about, we're typically in a, this will sound judgmental, we're typically in an immature place within our psyche with which we relate to that religion about. Hence, we haven't developed enough safety and security in our relationship with that religion to be able to laugh about it, to be able to not take ourselves too seriously. If I had a piece of advice that I'd want to tell anybody, it would probably be this: have beliefs, but don't believe your beliefs. I think that's when we start to get really curious in life, and then intense gravity is replaced with a more enjoyable sense of levity, when we can give ourselves the due diligence of having beliefs and letting those work for us, but also not believing those beliefs. It lets the box we live in at least have the lid off, if you ask me. And then right now in this moment, anything you're truly religious about, you probably feel a little tingle of defensiveness or anger about what I just said. So that's something to look at. Yes, can we see the puppy? Malona 011S? Absolutely. Come here, buddy. So this is Zephyr. He just had his 11th birthday on Sunday, and he's doing good. Do you want to say hi, Zephyr? He's terribly indifferent to audiences. That's how he asserts his dominance. Let's see. This is an interesting question. Camille Milu asks, are money and feelings compatible? I don't know that I have any answer to that. Are money and feelings compatible? Who knows? There's an unsophisticated answer. I would say this, though. If you look to money or things that money can buy to give you a good feeling, a feeling of like, a good sense of self, then I would say they're unfortunately compatible. I think there's a lot of merit to making them fortunately incompatible, where we separate our feelings from money. Maybe you get a big pile of money, or use money as like a secondary motivator or a 10th level motivator, and then you get a big pile of money and you have a surface level sense of happiness. I think that's really cool. But I think when we're primarily motivated by money, what we're looking to do is satisfy our need to feel good, need to feel important, need to feel like we matter. We're looking to do that through money. And I think that's like an infant going up to a pile of money and trying to nurse off it. There's just no nutrition there. And ironically, when we're trying to nurse off something that has no feeling-oriented nutrition, we keep going back because we're not satiated. So we need to sort of break that pattern if we're in that pattern. So we stop looking for nutrition from a place that's inherently got zero nutrition in it. So there's an answer, just made up a bunch of words to make it sound like I know what I'm talking about. Also, compliment about the Burning Man video. Thank you, I appreciate it. Another question, Pavana Tanya asks, I have my ability to read usernames is interesting. Let's see. How do you stay positive when Waylon Lewis is stalking me? I'm always positive when people are stalking you. Let's see. Waylon Lewis asks, which looks like it's Kara signed in under Waylon Lewis. So lots of Elephant Journal crowd represented tonight. That's awesome. By the way, thank you to Elephant Journal and all you weirdos who work there for letting a weirdo like me have some of his weird stuff published through your very weird but incredibly awesome publication. So thank you, Elephants Online. So the question, hey JP, how do you stay positive when there are refugees dying and shit? It's so hard not to let them kill my vibe. Yeah, similar to at the beginning of the broadcast, I answered a question about how do you stay, or what do you do to stay happy every day? Similarly, how do you stay positive? Well, my personal aim isn't to stay positive. That's out of balance. The having grief and letting the world traumas touch you and you're like, yeah, people are dying and starving. That sucks, and it makes me feel like crap. I think that's actually very healthy to get into, to dip ourselves into those waters, at least from time to time, not to be stuck in there and dwell on them and, just make our lives about tormenting ourselves through world tragedies. But I think allowing ourselves to go into the negative, I'll call it the shadow side, it helps keep our hearts sensitive. I think it helps keep us connected to the world in an incredibly legitimate way. And ultimately, perhaps makes us more balanced. If we're always seeking the positive, if we're the positive addict, then we're not really balanced. So letting ourselves go into the shadow side and getting depressed for a while about world events. One of the most depressing things I've encountered, I watched the DVD, it's not a DVD, from Netflix, the live stream of the documentary Blackfish. So about the whales in SeaWorld, and if you want, that's an incredibly awesome documentary. Awesome message, beautifully done documentary, made me horribly depressed for 4 days. If you're thinking about going to SeaWorld, or you're thinking, well, maybe I'll do that sometime in my life, I'd say definitely go watch that documentary. If you can already sit there and say, yeah, I think what SeaWorld does to those whales is horribly wrong, then don't watch the documentary. You already have the message. You're already making a difference in the world. Save yourselves the depression of watching these poor whales, who some say have more intelligence and actually more spiritual sophistication than humans do. Watching these things suffer. They have a dimension of their brains that even humans don't have. So I think it's actually a horrible crime having whales and dolphins in captivity, other animals too. I just happened to watch the documentary about the orcas. So welcome to this very depressing live stream broadcast if you're just joining me. Now we're going to get to something less depressing. A battery chicken. Hi, JP. How to get a passion for something like a hobby, or just how to become more of a passionate person. I think a lot of times we do this backwards. We're looking for something that makes us passionate. And then we keep looking because we're not finding anything that makes us passionate. There's some theories proposed, and sort of back-checking this against the backdrop of my life, I think it's pretty true for me. So there's some theories proposed that we don't actually develop true passion until we've mastered something. And to master something, unless you're Mozart or Beethoven, are those the same people, Mozart and Beethoven? Is that a first and last name? I've got a wonderful primary education, you can tell. So Mozart and Beethoven, those two people / maybe one person, they're born in a musical genius at the age of 7. So those 1 out of every billion that are the exception, who are just kind of born with something incredibly already mastered. The rest of us, what it takes to create mastery is a hell of a lot of just raw hours of interface with whatever the subject is. The book Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, I think, masterfully proposes that it takes approximately 10,000 raw hours of interface doing the thing in order to become a master at it. Uses examples like the Beatles and Bill Gates, how they just simply had 10,000 hours of exposure to their craft accumulated quicker than most people. I mean, 10,000 hours, but they did it in over a shorter period of time than most people do. So once we've mastered something, maybe that's when we develop a sense of passion about it. So I think there's a big crime we do for ourselves by puddle jumping. We get into something just, 2 inches deep. It's like a puddle. We're like, this isn't very satisfying. And we jump to the next puddle, wanting to be completely enveloped and having this passion wash over our entire self. And next puddle is just another 2-inch deep puddle. So we keep jumping puddles over and over and over and over again. I think it's a crime against ourselves because we don't allow ourselves enough exposure time in something to develop skill and mastery of a craft that opens up a dimensionality of art. And whatever the subject is, I think there's art in everything, but it takes a lot of sharpening the blade, if you will, to cut deep, to open up those dimensions that I think equal passion. So with that said, I know a lot of people would say, well, hey, JP, you devilishly good-looking redhead. The problem with that is you might just put yourself in a life sentence of doing something that you don't want to do. Yeah, that's the downside. That is a risk. And I think being aware of that trench that you can fall in probably minimizes the chances of falling into the trench. And also looking at my life, how I was passionate, kind of passionate. I wouldn't say I was passionate about it. I was interested in personal training. Then from there, it led me to be interested into nutrition. From there, that led me to be interested in stress reduction. And from there, that led me to be interested in like deep healing in the human heart. And from there, I've put in thousands of hours of client work. I'm not talking about study, but literally doing the craft that's allowed me to develop passion. So my point of all that, I'm getting a little long-winded on this question, breaking my rules where it's supposed to be quick answers to these questions. Rules are made to be broken. Arnold Schwarzenegger once said, break all the rules, but don't break the laws. I think that's really good advice. So back to the point. I think when we start doing something, once we get more than just the surface level 2 inches deep of that puddle, that oftentimes opens a door that has sort of an underwater passageway to a different door. You know, a door that we otherwise wouldn't have found if we didn't get into that puddle and sit in the damn puddle for a little while before our attention deficit disorder took us elsewhere. So my point was, that's how it's happened in my life so far. Anne Sayer asks, how can being ultra spiritual turn me into the yoga goddess I should be? That's a good question. All I can say to that is, I'm not a prophet, but I have a prophecy that says, motorcycle going by, a prophecy that says there will be an ultra spiritual video about goddesses coming up soon. The prophecy says within 2 months. We'll see if that happens. By the way, a lot of folks just saying hey and hello and cool things like that. You cracked me up, JP. Thank you for giving me that nice boost. I'm codependent enough. I really appreciate it. Let's just scroll along. Hello from Brazil. Hello from my office. Happy to have you on the line. Loner Morrison asks, how do I become Jim Morrison? I would probably say dangerously long acid trips in the desert with no water. Go to Burning Man next year. Let's see, a little disclaimer, I may or may not be serious on that. So consult your physician before you take that advice that may actually not be serious. Consult a very serious physician, by the way, I would do that. A severely serious physician. Have you ever met someone who is severely serious? I think that's a very humorous concept. Not a serious person, but a severely serious person. That, to me, it has a connotation like the person is so serious, like they're injured. Like I associate the word severe with like a severe injury. So a severely serious person. Zephyr, what was my point of that? Nobody on this end is sure. I'll have a drink of water. Let's see. So enjoy the look at my nostrils while I scroll. Hi, JP. What are your thoughts on finding your purpose in life? Thank you, Miwa006. Yeah, I think it's a good thing. I think searching for your purpose is a mindset that really resonates with me. I think finding your purpose is a little bit elusive. I think infinity is always bigger than we think it is. I think purpose is also always bigger than we think it is. When we're doing something purposeful, I think there's always deeper waters of purpose that we can encounter. And I'll also sort of defer several questions back to my thoughts on finding your passion. That might be something there. And I would also say that I don't believe that the purpose of life has to do with finding the purpose of life. So I think there's great wisdom in the term seeker. Be a seeker of your purpose. And I think purpose is primarily found in two ways that are probably always connected, feelings and in the present. If we're looking for our purpose through something that's yet to happen, good luck finding it, because you won't. I love Eckhart Tolle's message that says your primary purpose is always found in this moment. So to get a little Eckhart Tolle on you, my purpose right now in this moment is to be talking with you right now. Your purpose in this moment is to be doing whatever you're paying attention to, I would guess, or being, whatever it is. And I think the second dimension that's always connected with purpose, aside from being in the present, is a feeling. I think purpose shows up as a feeling. I've never seen a bunch of balloons and confetti drop down from the ceiling to mark the commemoration, take your pick, that purpose is being found. I think purpose is a feeling, certainly not a thinking. My ego, I don't think it'll ever be satisfied. So if I leave it up to my thinking mind to tell me when I'm on purpose, it'll be a long sit in the waiting room. So I think looking for feeling, a sense of fulfillment. I know that's a super esoteric, abstract, intangible way of describing the feeling of purpose. But that's, I think, the best I can do. P.S. It might show up very differently for you. And here's some one-size-fits-all advice that might be terrible for you, maybe even beneficial. If you feel no sense of purpose in your life right now, I know it's a very daunting thought and task to even like go about embarking on finding a remote sense of purpose. So I think when in doubt, the single best advice I've ever heard, I don't know who I heard it from. Maybe I'm just about to say it. So I'm arrogant enough, I have to say it's great advice because I'm about to say it. So here's some great advice from Arrogant JP. If you don't feel a sense of purpose, start giving to people. There's something special about that. And I am talking about truly giving, not going up to your neighbor and saying you need some Post-it notes. Not even giving money away. I'm talking about giving a service to people, something that involves your life energy. Feeding the homeless, giving to the poor, stealing from the rich and giving to the poor, stealing from the poor and giving to the rich. I bet they would appreciate that. Let's see. Let's rock and roll for another 10 minutes or so, and then we will call it a night. So let me go rapid fire on some of this. Thank you for those videos. Since people forget their sense of humor, you're welcome. Are you a vegan? No. I expanded a little bit earlier. Your channel is keeping it real without the need to look for ones in a trance 24/7. Either that doesn't make sense or I just read it pretty obtusely. I don't think I've ever used that word before. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. Loner Morrison asks, I think this was the same Jim Morrison person. Why does a mother's natural breast milk produce cannabis in her milk? We need cannabis. It's a good question. I guess what that mother puts into her body is probably why her breast milk produces cannabis. Let's see. Yellow Owl asks, does it bother you when other people don't like you? Bothers me. It really hurts my feelings. Do you have any suggestions? Sometimes it bothers me a bit. Once in a while, it bothers me a lot. What do I do? In a nutshell, I would dare say that what I probably do is I look for what I want from that person. What do I want them to give me? Usually it's, I want them to approve of me. Well, then that tells me what I need to give myself. Then that person becomes a teacher. Then you become ultra spiritual because you've just called someone who you don't like a teacher. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Mm-hmm. What's your opinion on tattoos? Love them, just not on me. Let's see. Hi, Chiquita Granita. I love your name because it rhymes. Asks, hi, JP, I love your videos. I love you loving my videos. I'm told that I'm funny but very controlled and laid back. I love your sense of humor. I'm an introverted empath. How do I genuinely emote and connect with people? I would ask you to consider this. One, it's important to honor you're an introvert. You may not emote and connect with people as much as a super extroverted person does. However, speaking directly to the question, how to emote and connect with people, letting your sense of humor shine as much as naturally appropriate for you, I would dare say make friends with discomfort. It's very comfortable not emoting and not risking saying something that you think is funny that other people may or may not. We say something with the intention of humor, then there's a period before the jury comes back and we're there on trial. Are they going to laugh? Are they going to get it? So getting used to discomfort. I think Brene Brown, she's a lovely author, lovely speaker, great messages on vulnerability. A quote of hers that I'll probably butcher says something like this: those who are willing to get uncomfortable rise higher faster. I think discomfort is the catalyst for growth. Whatever it is we're looking to grow in, and here looking to grow your ability to have a voice and connect and let your emotions and humor come out. Hope that helps a little bit. T in the Moment asks, how old are you? Let's see, emotionally speaking, right now I'm 8. Chronologically speaking, I'm 34. Let's see. Jim Giant asks, does watching porn make you less spiritual? It's a good question. I don't have a good answer for that. watching, perhaps a good answer, depending on you judge it, might be if you watch porn for the purpose of disconnecting from yourself, connecting to the euphoria of watching porn as a way of disconnecting from whatever you feel inside, then I would dare say it probably does make you less spiritual. Watching it for the purpose of curiosity, in education, I don't know if anybody actually watches porn for curiosity in education, but I would dare say that might be a bit more of a spiritual way of watching porn. You can justify anything, can't you? Let's see. Pam Harms. Hey, Pam. Thank you for writing in. Glad to have you here. Let's see. Lovely words, but just jumping to the end here, I'm wondering if you can tell me the difference between guilt and blame. My opinion is it's the exact same thing, just opposite ends of the spectrum. Same energy, just opposite ends of the spectrum. Guilt says, I did something wrong. Blame says, you did something wrong. So the difference between guilt and blame is just essentially where we're pointing our own finger. If we feel guilty, I'm pointing it at me. If we're blaming, pointing it at you. But I believe the energy we're feeling is the same for guilt and blame. Let's see. Johanna Eckhart, guessing from Germany, says your videos make even Germans laugh. That's exciting. Let's just see. Is your channel fake? I don't think so. 7C2 asks, what about open relationships? I've got a video on open relationships. Jump on my channel and type that in the search engine. You'll find it. Let's see. Me scrolling is the most exciting part of this. Just want to see if I have missed questions. Shelly Quinn asks, hi Shelly, by the way. Hi JP, I'm always frustrated with the giving and receiving thing, for example, birthday presents. Any comments come to mind? Just one off the cuff, Shelly, is that I think giving out of expectation and feeling obligated to give, that doesn't feel good. And also receiving, when we don't want to receive something, but we feel as though we're expected and obligated to receive, and we become a slave to that expectation, that doesn't feel good to me either. So taking a look at expectations, orbiting it might be something to consider. Jason Hides asks, thanks for doing this. You're welcome, Jason. Thank you for your question, which is, any thoughts on fear of showing love to somebody in connection to emotional abandonment and very little validating during childhood? Yeah, a nutshell to the super big realm you open up with a question would be the challenge with showing love to the fear of showing love to somebody is it might actually be received. When we're children, a lot of us think, oh, what we want most is to be loved. Yeah, I think that's absolutely true. In 50% of the equation. The other part of the equation is we desperately want our love to be received, because that lets us feel received. It lets our heart feel connected. So when we have a fear of truly showing our love to somebody, I think what it really says is I have a fear of connecting to someone and having my love accepted. And why we might have that fear, speaking in generalities, is because that's not familiar to us. It wouldn't be familiar to me to have my love accepted and be connected. It might be what I need most, but it might be what I want the least. So being willing to be afraid, going back to Brene Brown, willing to be uncomfortable is a huge catalyst of growth. Now, those are short thoughts to the big, big question, but thank you for that. Let's just see here. Later means brick asks, does growing facial hair make one more spiritual? Yes. I think that was the primary teaching of Jesus, to be honest with you. C. Kenzo asks, can you do a collaboration with Bro Science Life guys, please? I agree there. I would absolutely love to. The challenge is their channel is way bigger than mine, and coming to the table to do a collaboration with a channel way bigger than mine, something I would love to do, but I don't know that I'm in the position to ask for that. There is a limiting belief of mine. I will take a look at that, sit with that. For now, I'll just say I would be thrilled to do a collaboration with Bro Science. Let's see, last couple of questions here, going a little longer than we want, but last couple. Fernando, do you think that by being 24 years old, it would be hard to be taken seriously as a spiritual healing coach? My experience is probably when I was 24, I was doing emotional healing coaching at that time. I didn't call myself a spiritual coach, but I think it's close enough. I think my biggest problem was that I believed other people wouldn't take me seriously, and that was challenging. And actually, that's why I grew facial hair. One of the people who I was working with at the time, Paul Check, he actually suggested, he said, JP, why don't you grow some facial hair? It'll make you look older. I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll probably have facial hair until I want to look younger than I actually am. So moral of the story, Fernanda, I'm sorry, is grow facial hair. And Fernanda, that might be a female name. So good luck growing facial hair. But honestly, I would dare say the only challenge, whether you're taken seriously or not taken seriously, I think really the only challenge is you not taking you seriously. The right people are out there for you to work with. If they don't take you seriously, they're not the right ones. I wouldn't get too hung up on them. Sophie B asks, do you consider making podcasts? Right now, no. I'm always happy to be a guest on other people's podcasts. I love it. I get a thrill out of it. In fact, I've probably done countless podcasts, and I'm super entertained each time I do it. In a way, I've thought about doing my own podcasts. Right now, I legitimately don't have even an ounce of time to devote to that, so won't be anytime soon. Let's see, I think we're gonna call this a day, lovely friends. And now that we're calling it a day, I'd just like to conclude by saying, one, thank you for being on and chatting with me today and letting us just rant and rave and be abstract with our conversation tonight. So it's been a lot of fun for me. And secondly, thank you very much for watching my videos on whatever kind of regular basis you watch them on. That means a lot to me. It just feels very supportive for reasons I can't really understand, but it does. And I really appreciate you for being a part of my channel. And I'll look forward to us rolling along and continuing to get into whatever kind of mischief we get in on my channel. So until next time, you lovely people, I will be looking forward to talking with you again. Thanks for joining me. So here's my serious looking stop broadcast face.